Okay, we're live. So yeah, that's I don't know. When I started this, I was like, man, I do a ton of stuff around here. Like next time you come over, I'll show you. I'm it's so hard to describe. It's a basically this big old petrified root that Emily gave me. I've always tried to figure out how to mount it. Long story short, I ended up drilling a hole through and using one of my really cool star head, not hex head, star head lag
Torques.
bolts. No, it.
Oh, it's one of those architectural, like it's like a yeah. I know
Yeah,
exactly what you're talking about. What are
I
those
got. I
called?
just put one of those in my video that I'm about the gate that I'm doing right now. So, uh, I ran a black pipe, and I wanted to put a spotlight on it for to be a little grow light and also an accent light. And the way I'm wired it through the wall, but there was no stud where I wanted it, so I put a stud into the wall via a junction box from a stud that I cut. I just thought that was cool. It's like the stuff people don't do because you know why? Because it's not professional. I call it Fieldbrook engineering because that's where I'm from. Fieldbrook is a tiny little weed farming town in California, northern Pacific Northwest, where it's like if you can make it work for you, then it's okay. Don't be stupid about it, but it
Right.
works. It works. Everyone gets hung up on you have to do it this way, and no, there's tons of ways to do stuff.
It's not called Torques. It's called spline.
Yes, because I got a little segment in this video right now, Patrick, where I go to town on. I only use Torx bits. I've got thousands. I don't. Whoever did Phillips, and I apologize to Mr. Phillips' family if that's a thing, but man, the head size has to be 100% precise. Those things strip like no tomorrow. And then I even asked, someone's got to explain to me what the hell a flathead is still doing in this world because
I
that's a danger.
I can explain.
Okay.
So flatheads were originally created due to manufacturing costs. It's easier to have
Mm.
a single slot, and you notice that they go all the way through the head on the flatheads. So inherently built in. So this is the advantage of a Phillips and a flathead compared to a Torx. So Torx has the 6 points where you can apply and you have minimal slippage and you can provide a high amount of torque. Phillips and flatheads inherently have like a built-in torque threshold, so you can't. That's why you see a lot of brass screws that are flathead. So you can't over torque it. You can't destroy the screw. So they're designed to be handheld tools. Phillips became ubiquitous back when screws were becoming more popular, so they could adapt to power tools. But ultimately, Torx took that over. So
Ah,
that's why you have slot or flathead Phillips, and then Torx, and then the other application methods. It came down to manufacturing costs what for it, and they had just inherent qualities built into them.
that makes sense. I imagine it's a World War II thing.
Well, I mean, our manufacturing in the United States and worldwide really kind of changed at that point.
Yeah. How have you been? Michelle's going to help us co-host the 10th and the 17th.
All right.
Good morning, by the way.
Hey, good morning. How's the run? Is it still cool out?
It's lovely.
I need to get out. It's been a crazy couple days. School's out, so
Ah,
getting used
yes.
Oh
to the
boy.
new schedule.
Is there any kind of summer school
Nope.
or clubs or any?
We do a camp or two, but got the free range kids.
Oh boy. Yeah.
They're good. It's just trying to balance the mix of activities. Uh, Kindles and computers are nice, but you don't want them on them all the time, right? Um, Playing outside is great, but I don't want them like 5 miles away where I don't have track of them. So it's just the balance.
That's crazy. Okay, so when we were kids, my mom would be like, "Okay, go play outside. Once the street lights come on, you need to come back
Yep.
home." So it was all day, had no idea where we were, but once those street lights came on, we had to come back home.
Yep. Gen X definitely latchkey kid generation for sure. You know, I'm at the tail end of X, at the beginning of millennial.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think I'm especially unique as a zennial, but it's just this weird gap between the two.
Yeah.
The point is, I grew up very similar. The neighborhood was sparse, you know, acre lots on a, you know, dead end street. So the only trouble you could get in were like up to your own devices, meaning, you know, just playing and building stuff and exploring. So
Oh, I set a field on fire. It was pretty cool.
yep. I almost did the same with an electric fence,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
trying to disassemble it. I was angry at it because I got shocked because my friends pulled a prank, told me to, you know, had me pee on the electric fence. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, peeing on the electric fence. I think that must be every boy's kind of prank if there's one around.
right.
Yeah. Okay, we are live. Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Is Dad with you? We're going to go ahead and get started. Let me roll the disclaimer and intros. We got a lot to talk about.
This podcast contains adult themes and language. The views expressed here are our own opinions and experiences. We are not medical professionals.
In this podcast, we discuss our opinions about mental health, sobriety, addiction, and our pursuit of happiness and peace. This is Sober Mind.
Dad is in California at Michelle's house.
And believe it or not, they have shittier weather than we do here.
I wouldn't
It's
call that
good.
shitty. That's my ideal.
Oh, pardon.
How dare you?
Not all of us like, 63 degrees and hazy. Oh boy, we have a dog invasion here.
Hold on.
Yeah,
I gotta
they're
get.
bringing the chew face to a ring near you. That's what we call when our dogs just start wrestling and everything.
Yeah,
It's like they sense when we're getting ready to do something. Okay.
it's like having 2-year-olds around.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Last-
I gotta yell.
I think yesterday I tried to sit down and read a book for like an hour and a half, and it was like one of those, like, I sit down and you just like, you open it and get like 5 lines in, and then it's just like, the next person needs hey Dad,
Mhm.
hey
Good.
hey you,
Hey.
Dad.
yep.
Okay. In a minute, we're going to start to stream the background music. We're going to do Stream Beats by Harris Heller, not sponsored. His new album, Neon, which is awesome. Babe, I think you'll like it. Patrick, I think you'll like it. It's a little more upbeat than what we have been doing. We got a lot to discuss. This is week 2 of my Effexor withdrawal, and week 1 complete. A little bit more of your Cymbalta.
Yeah. Feeling good.
I'm feeling all right. I woke up.
You're all right, boy.
I know. I woke up a little poopy pants today because, I don't know, I'm just having a shitty day. Patrick, I'll fill you in. I had during my life situation phone call yesterday. It was, I'm a little angry and I'm confused and I'm frustrated and there's nothing I can do about it. So, I catch myself a lot like, John, practice what you preach. You talk about this stuff on the stream. Use your tools that you've developed. I always say it's easier said than done. My mind does not work. It's the good and the bad of the way I function. I need shit now. I need to know what's going on. This was what makes me productive. This is why I could do all this stuff, build, get things done, because it's controllable.
Sometimes things that are out of your control are very frustrating.
It is. I sit there. I'm like, babe, there's nothing we could do about it. Let's just relax. Next thing you know, I am down into what the fuck land in my head. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, stop. And especially now that I'm unmedicated, I'm very, I don't want to say sensitive, but hyper aware of all the clashing emotions that happen, which is good. I got to deal with the shit. So Effexor withdrawal week 2 for me. We'll get into the other stuff in a sec, babe. Sorry if I started to cut you off there.
No, I was just going to comment on what you're going through. This is a good test for you. This is a really good test for you, I think.
Yeah.
It sucks. I mean, I know what you're going through, and it sucks for what you're going through, but I think it's a really good test for what you're going through.
Yeah. It's not the situation. It's not that bad. It's my reactions to it, or lack thereof. It's the stuck between a rock and a hard place, caged animal. Like, tell me something tangible. I get wound up. I was running this morning, me and Ozzy, I saw a rabbit. I wanted to punch the rabbit in the face. It's like, rabbit, I want to punch you in the face. Just Effexor, I'm on week 2. I'm doing good, man. A lot of clarity. It's back. Okay, when we originally started this, I was reading, going down the rabbit hole. Some people are like, oh man, you will have withdrawals for a year. Or, it's all based on how much you've been on for how long. I would consider myself an average medicated time with an above average amount. 1 year.
I think it's also based on personal chemistry or chemistry.
Makeup, for sure.
Yeah.
So 1 year, 150 milligrams. I quit cold turkey. I do not recommend. But for me, that's what worked, because I just ripped the Band-Aid off. It was fucking hell. It was bad. Here's what was bad about it. The electrical shocks. Hold on, let me back up. Just a recap. They say, and who are they? Doctors, psychiatrists, they don't know. But quite honestly, they don't give a shit, because there's none of these white box label warnings about how bad the withdrawals are. The companies that make money off of these pills, they're not going to tell you. Some doctors will say some of these antidepressants, you got to stay on for life, or just the withdrawals are going to be horrible. And that scares people, man. It really does. So what I read was, if you taper down from 150 down to 37.5, then you quit that, you're still going to have wicked withdrawal symptoms. So
no matter what you do.
I just quit cold turkey, and they came on fast. The physical aspects of it were electrical shocks in my mind, zappiness, hangover feeling, overall discomfort with a lot of things. Then after about 3 days, the emotional roller coaster started. I was crying uncontrollably. I was sad. I was frustrated. I was telling myself I was wasting my fucking time with this nonsense and blah, blah, blah. I had to apologize to my father-in-law and Judy because my temper was unexcusably short, but uncontrollable too. I just had a threshold, I don't know, I would snap. I'd have to go away. So, hey, here we are. Week 2. If I look really hard with my eyes directly to the right, I can get the zap a little bit. It's getting better every day. I did reads that can stick around for quite a long time, and that's fine. I could deal with that. So I also quit cold turkey, Depakote, which is a mood stabilizer. Heads up, I got a psychiatrist appointment on June 8th. She knows I did none of this. She does not know I did any of this. She will not be happy, but... So I'm only down to 1, and I'm going to stay on that one because it works very well. It's just Wellbutrin, 200 milligrams of sustained release a day. That keeps my depression at bay. It works very well for me. It works very well for a lot of people. So, but I don't need three meds.
Your mood is definitely stabled out. I could say that. as far as your patience level and your tolerance level, it's definitely stable down. You're not at max capacity all the time.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe I think for the last couple of days it's been getting better, but I do work very hard. I probably faked it a couple times. But I'm happy about life. I'm feeling good. I got all of my range of emotions back. I'm super productive. I get bursts of happiness here and there. The only thing that really affects me anymore is if I don't get a good night's sleep. I think everyone at my age, 50 plus, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm an emotional, little chaotic. Don't wake up super happy and have to take a nap later on. But that's just life. I love you. How are you doing?
I love you too. I'm doing good. I still have the kind of, head feels like it's in a fishbowl every once in a while, but I'm doing great. Yeah, the Cymbalta really wasn't that bad of a withdrawal. I am actually able to feel emotions instead of walking around like a zombie. Like my emotions had a pillow over top of them all the time. This is day 2 of running, which has been fantastic. I've just enjoyed the crap out of it. I've just been enjoying the sensation of being able to feel emotions again. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. After a week, I've noticed a marked difference in you, for sure.
Yeah, I've enjoyed being able to enjoy things again and having my drive back, being able to have my ambition back and being able to get into things that I love to get into, like gardening and cooking and even cleaning, even cleaning up after myself, which for some reason, I'm one of those type of people that like to clean up after myself. If I make a mess, I like to clean it up. If I walk into a kitchen and make coffee, like my husband was telling me the other day, he says the one thing I noticed that the medication did was that you would make coffee and you'd leave coffee grounds on the counter, and that was so not like you. It's a very minor thing, but it is not like me. I always would clean up the counter afterwards, and I just, for some reason, just stopped doing it. And, that's was one of those trigger things that was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, now I am back to doing that. I'm back to, putting flowers in the bedroom, or, just the little things that I didn't do before, I'm now enjoying doing again. So it's been very nice.
I don't want to gloss over that because I was just going to bring that up. So these are important things. I don't know how to explain this. Don't ever micromanage your relationship or your spouse. But when you've been together for 22 years, you notice things. And this is one of the ones that I saw and I couldn't move past it. And that was, we have a coffee debrewer. And, we make 2 separate pots in the morning because we have a decaf and then fully loaded for me and Dad. And Judy, 2 days in a row, went out there and ground the coffee, and I went out and it was just a fucking mess. Just all coffee grounds all over the place on the counter. The first time I saw it, it was actually more than twice. First time I saw it, I wiped it up. I'm like, that's not a big deal. I'm not saying Judy has to clean the house. That's not what this is about. This is about noticing a behavior that
Behavioral changes.
If you pay attention to it, it could be a sign of something bigger. This is the whole going off on a huge rabbit trail here. Emotional behavior stuff, suicide prevention, and all that good jazz. Watching people and how they change. This was not that dramatic, but day 2, day 3, I was like, this is not Judy. This is not the Judy that I know. It wasn't me getting frustrated because I'd clean up off all the coffee grounds. It was Judy's core foundation doesn't allow her to do this, to just leave coffee grounds all over the countertop. And that's when I said,
hey, you feeling okay?
Not right then at the coffee ground. Not right then at the coffee grounds, but
No.
later on when we were having discussions, I did the check-in of how are you feeling? How's your emotional range? Because her libido was dust too. That was the other one I noticed.
Yeah, that
So-
was horrible.
Motivation started it. That's what's with these pills. In the beginning, if you go back and watch the episodes when she first started this, she was feeling really well. And right when she
Yeah,
got off, she
yeah.
was feeling really well. There's all these roller coasters.
But you know, I do have to say, it did what it was supposed to do. It helped to get me out of the funk and the depression that I was stuck in because I couldn't do it myself. It got me out of there. Once it did that, I didn't need it anymore because I was back to where I needed and wanted to be.
Yeah, it's tough to feel the baseline progression though.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If you don't know where your baseline is.
yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. How are you, Patrick?
Patrick, check it out. Look at this smile.
Things are good. Yeah, change of schedules. I actually have quite a bit that I'm sorting through, but I'm trying to find a good way to articulate it. But I don't know. Do you guys watch Ted Lasso at all?
Oh yeah,
Love it, yes.
Dad's a
Have you-
huge fan too.
Yes, love Ted Lasso.
Are you caught up on it?
Uh-huh.
Well, I don't want to.
I mean, maybe not the very
No, we have the last episode.
the very last
so don't-
episode.
Yeah.
Why is that what you're going to refer to?
There's, yes, yeah. There's. I'll try to explain. Like my entire, a large part of my identity for the longest time was seeking validation from others. So I was passionate about a lot of that stuff, committing myself to certifications and hobbies and being the best at
Mhm.
whatever I could do, and almost obsessively pouring myself into items. And when I'm part of that stemmed from my relationship with my dad, right? Because I was always trying to seek validation.
Yeah.
And on this journey, when I've learned to validate myself more, that is very empowering, that I realize that I don't have to do X, Y, and Z because I see myself for who I am, and I hold it, however I hold something is because I want to, not to prove somebody else wrong, or I have to hold it for their expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side of that is that was my drive for so long. I'm gonna do this because fuck you, I can do this. And like it gave me focus, it gave me drive, it gave me a direction.
Mm-hmm.
And when you lose a piece of your identity that was that for so long, it feels weird. It feels like you are a boat without a propeller, like you're just kind of cast at sea, bobbing around. You're not in any danger, but you're just kind of adrift. So I've
Listless.
So I'm had some brief moments of inspiration this past week where it felt like that surge come back with the unattachment though. Like I had a project where I was doing a bunch of design work that I felt myself pouring into just because I wanted to be the best at what I could do, rather than if I were to do this, then they will see me for, the skills that I have. Right. I just wanted to do. It's kind of hard to explain, but
You were doing it
That's-
more for yourself than for somebody else, correct?
Mhm.
Nice.
that's definitely a big portion of it. So, but that level of passion and commitment is just super hard. When your primary motivator before is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the joy of finding a new one, though.
Very
Takes
true.
time.
But it's okay to be in that state of flux too. You have to realize that it's okay to be in that state of suspension for a few minutes, because it's not gonna last. You just have to realize that state is not gonna last. You're gonna be there. You're gonna float. You're gonna be in that state of flux, of suspension, but eventually it will kick back into gear and you'll start going again.
Yeah. It's
Patrick.
kind of, it's unnerving though. I mean, that's the part of being uncomfortable with all this stuff, right? You're not used to that. You may not have the tools to deal with it. It's just, even in a state of chaos, our minds found solace in the fact that we were being propelled by something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And when you begin to finally realize that you have control over that, that's the scary part. Or I shouldn't say you don't have control over the chaos, but you have influence over your perception of the chaos. So
Yeah. Patrick, this is on the show, this is the first time I've seen this side of you. Do you want to dig into it a little bit more? I see a vulnerable moment. We don't have to. We could talk about it later, but I don't know. It seems like you're going through something.
I'm trying to sort it out. I mean, for projects and stuff, I think you can relate. Like I loved going into like beast mode, as I'd call it, and just do the projects, right? And granted, a large amount of them, either I'd do all right or complete, but there's still another large part that I wouldn't complete. The ADHD brain and the executive function, I was always doing, either starting something and leaving it, or doing it so compulsively that I was like obsessed over it, where I had to immerse myself to a depth of mastery. Like I can't do lifting until I'm part of the 1,000-pound club. That's where where you have to lift a certain amount of weight with a certain amount of reps, like you have to be, or like I want to do woodworking to the point where I'm a master craftsman, right? Or I want to do X to this point, or I want to do design work to where I could either sell my stuff or I could be validated as a artist for this. And I've felt like I was competent in the areas that I devoted to, that I would always have those options, like if I so choose. And so I would continuously pour myself into that. But the past, throughout sobriety, I think mainly the last 2 years, when I've learned to validate myself more and take care of myself more, my passion and my drive has diminished for a lot of those things. Like my capacity to care and stop controlling the situations has increased immensely. But there is something that I look back and there was something that I missed, that I enjoyed the opportunity to create and put something out there, right? Before I felt so driven to just move to completion. It's really hard to explain the difference in the drive. Before I felt compelled to just do. And now I feel like there's this gift. Looking back on all my projects that I've done, they are wonderful because they were born out of wanting to create at the same time. And I don't know, I'm trying to explain, like I love woodworking because it creates, it's an act of creation. That's a part of artistry there, right? Creating from your skill set. Like a chair, I don't see a chair that was built. I see, the skills that I learned along the way and my decisions for picking X, this piece of wood and this joint and this glue and the time and energy poured it in. And I remember on the glue up that I had an opportunity to talk to my kid about woodworking and bring along the way, right? And it's as if, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like I really enjoyed the process of that stuff, but I was just so driven on getting it to completion that I didn't get a chance to enjoy all the other stuff that came with it. And now that I'm not driven by all the stuff to get to completion, I feel like there's a loss that I'm not enjoying the stuff that comes along with it.
So basically, each piece has its own story, but you were so driven you weren't able to enjoy the story that came along with each piece.
Yeah, that's definitely a good portion of it.
So is there something that you can do, or that you're trying to, other things that you're trying out in your life so that you can create that joy of, or that, how do I put this? That draw to enjoy that story while you're creating that piece, or while you're engaging that creativity inside of your brain?
I think I'm getting there. Part of it is being present. There's a point in the tasks. Let me try to explain it this way. I used to love being angry. And because anger would give you focus and drive and a strength that you may not have before. Granted, it was not in the best intentions when you held it, but it was intoxicating to me to that point. It was self-validating. It was big. It was present. It was the amount that could be accomplished with that, harnessing that energy, was massive, right? You could create a massive amount of damage holding on to anger like that, or you could, even on some senses, and I shouldn't resort to it, but being violent, I should say, if you held on to anger large enough that you could create a large amount of damage, not just mentally, but physically as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a force to be reckoned with. And there's something at awe to me about an energy that can be harnessed by a person like that. Same about the projects and stuff that I did before. Because I was so laser focused, I could bury myself and reach a level of focus and concentration and execution that I could not do otherwise, because I was so driven about proving others wrong or seeking validation from others. I was just so laser focused on the task that I was able to, reach a state that I was not able to get at any other emotional state.
Yes. So go ahead, Patrick.
Now that I have seen that, but at the same time, that I've likened this analogy, that's like running your car on NOS, trying to drive to the grocery store. You're going to get there fast, or, with gusto, but you're going to end up destroying the car in the process if you do that on a regular basis. Because I focused on validating others, I ran myself so hard and was able to execute at high levels, but at detriment to myself. There is something that I miss about that awe and that strength of being able to focus at that depth, that I have not found a healthier channel to ride to that state of being.
So
does that make sense?
It does, 100%, Patrick. And I will, if I could take the reins and have a juxtaposition discussion about this, and that is, I used to be that way too. Judy will tell you, but it was when I was pretty buzzed the majority of the time. I would get this weird, like, I would do some stupid shit, like midnight, go move a fire pit of bricks in the backyard.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just go do, because I just had this weird, unbridled energy, not in a good way. And I would love to listen to some of my death metalcore music and just really escape into it. When I quit drinking, that was in the soup bowl of fear nuggets of like, well, if I quit drinking, then what's going to change? Immediately, I thought I won't have a passion for music anymore. I won't have a passion for projects anymore and get stuff done. I might turn into this lazy ass Jabba the Hutt and just sit in the corner and cry. That was how I looked at being sober. It's just how we create stuff, it's dumb. Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. It's not dumb. It's just that people like me, they create a tale of something and move so far ahead of it that you can't see the next step, which is the logical step. And that is, hey, fucker, quit drinking and life will probably be pretty good. But that's the brain of an alcoholic too.
Future tripping.
Yeah, if I'm not this, then all these other things are going to break. That's not how it is. So fast forward, I've been catching myself folks, I've started another channel called Fix Broken Stuff, and I checked it out. This episode of Sober Mind is sponsored by Fix Broken Stuff. I checked it out. I can do that. Because I've been finding myself, I do a ton of DIY projects, and I've explained this to Judy and Dad before. I have a pretty cool predisposition for doing and learning a lot of things, because somewhere in my life, I've talked about this. I was poor all of my life. I didn't understand what it was to hire a handyman. I am the handyman. And I couldn't afford to buy the proper materials. So there's always a way to do stuff. Now, this channel that I have, I realize that I do good work on stuff. I do good work, not perfection work. Patrick, like you were saying, I do good woodwork. I have all the tools. I'm not making cabinets though. I'm not doing fine woodwork and stuff like that. Good. I have no desire to do that. But let me pull all this back together. Where I'm going with this is I've caught myself lately. I was listening to a new album and I really got into it. I felt like I had that. Maybe it was an endorphin release. I don't know. I was listening to this song and I was like, man, I used to feel like this when I was drinking. Listening to that, like it get really captivating, emotional stuff. So I was like, I think I've had a nice breakthrough, coming up on 2 years of sobriety where the brain is healing. I'm off the medications. I'm able to do that. Going to the projects, the juxtaposition of you right now, Patrick, is that maybe it comes with age. Because I had the same thing. I've head first, go crazy, learning stuff, get to the end, 99.2%, and then just quit, not finish it.
85% complete, and then
abandon it, go on to something else. I know there's a whole ADHD framework that doctors have dissected about the ingestion and the release and the focus, and that it's the good and the bad that comes with that. But where I'm at now is that I've caught myself, I realized, and it's not from a manic ADHD perspective, but I went and got 3 tons of gravel, made a new driveway, put in an 8-foot gate. I'm doing wiring back there. And every day that I'm out there doing stuff, I'm doing it and I'm somehow enjoying the process, Patrick. I'm focusing on being able to do it well enough, make it good. Mm-hmm. That's hard to explain this.
Yeah.
I step back and I'm like, that is some damn good stuff. Also, this comes from the practice that we were talking about of don't be so hard on yourself. Mm-hmm. I've really inherited, I'm going to do the welding episode and show people like this.
The happy mistakes.
Yeah, the happy mistakes.
Bob Ross.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Patrick, we talk a lot. Where you're at, I can say that it's still going to be a progression too with some aging and maturation. I think I'm comparing to me, but that's as I started to get a little bit older, the focus became tangible and manageable, if that makes any sense. It was, last night, I I got a surprise with Dad, so I'm not going to say what it is, but this thing for the gate showed up. And I remember just even like 7 months ago would have been, stop everything. I'm going to do that. I have to do it right now. And yesterday, I even caught myself before a guy. I was like, I'm going to do it tomorrow. And gosh darn it, I'm okay with that. Because I've been
that was a huge breakthrough, because he would have stopped everything and went and did it, and nothing else would have been done until that was done. Period.
And
he would have been halfway through it and gotten frustrated, and things would have been thrown. And yeah, and for him to say, I'm not going to do this until tomorrow, and it's going to be okay. I was very proud of you about that, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I've been really practicing the rushing nowhere.
Rushing to nowhere, yeah.
I've caught me doing it. I've caught you doing it. Man, get out of Judy's way when she's making dinner. It's borderline bizarre.
I'm focused. When I'm cooking, I'm focused.
It's a bit.
I'm on a mission.
Judy's like, babe, dinner will be ready in 7 minutes. Can you get the trays out and start the TV and call Dad up? I'm like, fucking.
There's a process.
When dinner's done, we'll go. It's not going to turn into ice cubes. Relax.
I have
it stresses you out though, babe.
It does. I don't know why. It just does. I have a question though. Back to the power of anger. The peptides that are released that your body is feeding off of when you have the anger surges. Is there any way that you can refocus that when you have surges of joy? Because you can refocus that to get, well, okay, speaking for myself only, joy has just as much power as anger for me. And to flip the switch and to get that, to try and harness that much power from joy instead of anger might be beneficial. It doesn't work for everybody.
No, I wish.
It doesn't work for everybody. But I do know that, the peptides that are released when you feel anger or when you feel those things, and your body just starts to feed off of it. And so it starts to do it more and more and more. And so that's why the whole victim mentality, woe is me. Well, that's because it starts feeding off of that. And you get that kind of a little bit of a high because of that victim mentality, that victim feeling. So to flip that and get out of that state and start feeding off of or releasing peptides to get when you're feeling joy, or when you're feeling other things that are more healthy, more beneficial for your mental state, and start to infuse your body with those. It doesn't work for everybody, but it is a healthier way to attack that problem, I would assume.
It is, but as Patrick has mentioned, it took us, decades to build the broken down dumpster fire alcoholics that we are now. So as we're getting better, it's going to take practice.
That's true.
It takes.
That's true.
I'm exaggerating, but I could much easier get super pissed off at something rather than getting super happy at something that my chemical makeup isn't there. I wish it was. Your mom made a comment last week of happiness as a state of mind, and I said I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, because I fucking wish. That's my daily desire, is to I wake up happy. I'm like, yes, life is good. Next thing you know, it's something makes me angry. I'm not trying to be. It's just I'm a very malleable, sensitive person, and I wish I could be happy all day long. I try. I really do. I try to the point of frustration. That's my
well, it doesn't you don't stay happy all day long. Nobody stays happy all day long. Not unless you're the Buddha. Siddhartha, maybe.
Right.
But for me, meditation helps a lot. That focused meditation helps a lot. When you're really focused for 30 seconds, even just for 30 seconds, looking in a mirror and smiling for 30 seconds, that helps a lot.
It does.
Just, I mean, little things to help to refocus. After a while, your brain starts to think, oh, okay, that's what you want to think about, and starts to reprogram itself. It's just like a computer. You just reprogram it.
I'm with you, babe, but you've had a couple instances lately to where you couldn't downward dog your way out of it.
You're absolutely right. I did.
Okay.
But it's okay. Those instances are okay too.
They are. We're just humans. I do apologize if I've seemed short and snappy and all in my own world. I'm not meaning to be. I'm just, God damn it, I'm going through stuff. I'm too emotional. I'm I got the testosterone level of a 75-year-old woman.
Why would you say too emotional? I mean, hasn't that been the problem before, not having enough emotion?
Yes and no, Patrick. I pick the word of the day, juxtaposition, is that I've gone through the greater part of my adult life, even telling my therapist and psychiatrist, I wish I could not give a fuck. I really do. People are like, chill out, bro. Ride the wave.
Wednesday.
Yeah, let it roll off your back, bro. I'm like, I don't fucking understand that. I don't know how to do that. I wish I could. But everything is such a drama. It comes in. It's like, oh, you're feeling happy. You're feeling sad. Oh, you're frustrated. And my inner observer is just constantly looking at this stuff and then throwing shit in there. And it's like, fucking calm down. That's where I'm at. Patrick, I don't wish. Sometimes I wish I could just tone my own emotion down. That people don't understand.
Turn the volume down.
Yeah, it's not a controllable thing to have it all there.
Yeah.
Unless you're heavily medicated, but then the rest of your spirit is not open and raw either. So you know what? It's life, and we'll get through it, but maybe some people do appreciate all the emotion, and I guess it translates to passion.
What I have a question is, how do you feel about going forward with what's going on with you?
Patrick or me?
Patrick. I know what's going on with you.
Oh. Pray tell.
You are getting better. That's
I guess it's just time. You brought up meditation. I haven't been meditating as much lately, so of course I'd use emotional cues for my focus first, rather than understanding that if I'm not practicing focus either by itself or as a discipline, of course I'm going to only use my emotional cues to focus, if that makes sense.
How much self-care have you been doing lately?
That one's confusing to me, because I want to say easily more than I have been in years past, but at the same time, sure. That's one of those things in my head that's always like, well, you could be doing more, or it's hard sometimes as a parent.
Yeah.
Because there are days when I feel like I miss the ability, when I was either single or on my own, if I needed physical space, or I needed to process, or I need to move into a task, like those options were available. And it's very hard in a dynamic, with children, to be like, whatever you're feeling, you got to fucking deal with that shit later and help the situation. You got to be there for your kids now.
Yeah.
And, it's such a fine line, because I have to honor the fact that I need to process my emotions. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to put myself second when, you know, I realize not being able to be your whole self dealing with your kids may be of even more detriment, but a timing thing, like, you know, when you're with them, it's hard to process those certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to describe this feeling.
Michelle said something which I totally agree with. She said, Patrick, it's progress, not perfection. You've come a long way. Give yourself credit and a break.
What a crybaby.
Yeah, right?
Everyone knows I kid.
No, what I meant by self-care is even if it's just five seconds of just taking a break. Like you said, you were sitting down to try and read for a few minutes, or going and meditating for 30 seconds, or just, that's what I meant by self-care. Just taking a few seconds just for yourself and just focusing on just you, just for a minute, and then going on and about your day. That's kind of what I meant by self-care. Because I know you have got kids, so you're super busy. So that's what I meant by.
So now that you say, I guess the item of self-care that I do miss is, I don't know what you want to call it, enlightenment, Zen, or whatever, but there are states of period of focus that takes time and effort to get to when you're in the middle of a task or meditation flow or item. You know, you could, and this is the part that I loved about projects, is like you get to that point where it felt like cuts were getting easy, boards were coming together, or you're sitting down in meditation where you are very aware of your breathing, but you're not even like worried about it and you're not even affecting it. Or
flow. Yeah, it's I feel like, you know, and I feel very confused about this in the information age now, and I get phones are a problem, but I feel disconnected the more I have to learn to process with a lot of the stuff on the surface. The more I feel like I get pushed and taken away from flow. And I used to be able to hide myself in that a lot too. You know, that's why I chose to pick projects, right, where I would just like bury myself in that. So I guess, I don't know, like that's the part of self-care that I miss. You know, I was doing them for the wrong reasons before, but I still missed a lot of aspects about that. Yeah. Well, I think you're doing a great job right now, and just be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself. And thank you for sharing. That's a lot. Thanks for being vulnerable with us.
Yeah. Okay. We got it. Man, this is the longest warm-up we've done. 45 minutes. We got to jump into it. Folks, this is not even our main topic. All right, we're going to jump into some Patrick Teahan today. But first, real quick, Road to 500 reminder that I've got this Elgato Wave XLR. Got this Rode Pod mic. Once we hit 500 subscribers, we will do a random drawing. You have to have been subscribed and leave a comment in any one of these videos.
Woohoo!
It's good shit, people. This is not inexpensive. I just bought too much of this stuff and then I switched gears. So it's yours if you subscribe. Okay. Also, I've been waiting to do this. We're gonna real quick before we jump into Patrick Teahan. Any objections, you guys, if I quickly share my Fix Broken Stuff trailer for this audience?
I have no objections.
I was going to say, because too fucking bad, it's going to happen. Here we go. Fix Broken Stuff, John Lund. What's up? My name is John. I got this truck. I got this shop. This whole shop is getting ready to move out to a new workshop that we're gonna build. I'm gonna walk you through the process. In the meantime, I wanna use this opportunity to start providing tips and tricks to y'all. Let's say you just got yourself a gigantic 85-inch TV. You need to know how to mount that shit over the mantle, but want to hang it down. No big deal. I'm gonna show you how. Let's say you got this fancy aquarium. You want to mount the lights from a 12-foot ceiling. No big deal. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Let's say you live in an apartment, getting ready to move out. You need your deposit back. Oh shit, you got a big old hole in the wall. No big deal, we can spackle that shit. It's not a big deal. Demystified. Let's say for some reason you need to cut some metal, but you've never done it before. No big deal. You go to the store, Harbor Freight preferably, you spend 40 bucks. Angle grinder. You got yourself a big yard, you got yourself a small yard, you got yourself a quarter of acre, you want to build yourself some gardening plots, dig some stones in the ground, just tear shit up and put in wiring over there. No big deal, I'm gonna show you how. So first on the docket is to finish painting this fence. No big deal. Veteran parking, Home Depot.
Woohoo.
Amazing.
Nice video.
Full disclosure, the Patrick, to pop that cap off with a thumb, I had to do that like 7 takes. Fine. I got to the point I'm like, I'm gonna barely put it on here. Good luck, y'all. It's not coming off with the thumb pop. But going back, it's pretty good. I already got a ton of videos I'm getting processed, and it only takes me like 15 minutes to crank through now to get these videos posted. I got a GoPro Black 9. Going all the way back to what we're talking about at the beginning, I want to make sure, just like with anything that right now, this is my home projects, to show people that things are attainable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a huge difference, and this goes with mental health too. There's a huge difference between having to be an expert at something versus all you got to do is put a little bit of effort into it. I think that's where we get confused with things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Patrick? Especially with the way we do projects. Like, I was the same way. I got up to deadlifting like 540 pounds, but there was no need to do that. Anyway,
I have a habit of taking a small project and making it monumental, and by that time I'm like, okay, I can't do it. It's too big.
I'm completely the opposite. We've talked about it. I'm gonna tear down 3 walls. Judy, you good with that? She's like, what the fuck? No. It's gonna look killer when we're done. It always does look killer when we're done.
It does.
All right. I'm not gonna recap all of these that we've been doing. Hey, go subscribe to Fix Broken Stuff, John Lund. Good stuff. Okay. Patrick Tehan, licensed independent child social worker. This is going to be the new way that we've been doing stuff. We're going to do reaction videos to mental health topics. I already got a couple in my folder that I'm queuing up, Patrick. But after this Patrick Tehan, we're going to go with whatever you want to do. We're on number 8. The crying valve. Can't start, can't stop. 11 oddly specific childhood trauma issues. Here we go.
Number 8, which is something that I'm simply calling crying valve. Crying valve this one is pretty simple. Either you can't cry or you can't stop crying. You can often think about childhood trauma on a spectrum. I do this with many of these concepts where the goal is somewhat heading towards the middle and to become more balanced in these things. Extreme left on the spectrum, whichever your left or right is, extreme left on the spectrum is being shut down and they can't access grief. And extreme right is the emotional eruption, think like volcano of hopelessness and overwhelm, which isn't exactly processing grief either. Examples, going into therapy and feeling really on the spot and not knowing what to do about the grief because that feeling is missing from your insides. Same with the possible big situations like a wake or a funeral and you're not feeling anything. You're not a sociopath. It's just a symptom of trauma. Going to therapy, now the other side of this is going to therapy and you can't stop crying in front of the therapist and you can't get it together to have the discussion or you can't regulate. I'm not criticizing you. These are just common childhood trauma symptoms. Where this might come from, every child has their own strategy growing up in childhood trauma. Some really leave their emotional body in an extreme way and shut down to the numbness, which is a really good strategy. And some kids go to a survival strategy of cry for help. They kind of can live in that in adulthood. The adult who is overwhelmed with crying, the upset might be about crying for help more than it is about the feelings underneath. So it's a little bit complicated. It's almost like there's the grief down here, but then there's the cry for help strategy, I think, up here. Some treatment is, I really think, EMDR is very helpful for any of these. EMDR can be helpful for both presentations. DBT is somewhat helpful for the emotional regulation skills, but it's not trauma work. I want to be clear about that. Might be a good step to do, but DBT might be a good step to do before doing.
Hold on. He lost me. This is the first. What's DBT and did he
EMDR.
What is that? Electro? No.
I backed up a little bit. Dang it, Mr. T, Dr. Tehan.
So it's
Emotional.
a little bit complicated. It's almost like there's the grief down here.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Okay. Maybe some feedback for Mr. Tehan. He's not watching this channel either, but man, you've been doing so good on these. You just can't throw some acronyms out there that lost me.
But then there's the cry for help strategy, I think, up here. Some treatment is, I really think, EMDR is very helpful for any of these. EMDR can be helpful for both presentations. DBT is somewhat helpful for the emotional regulation skills, but it's not trauma work. I want to be clear about that. Might be a good step to do, but DBT might be a good step to do before doing some trauma work. Finding support where you can talk about the stuckness or the numbness, or work with a therapist who can help you talk about the abuse while staying present and not going into the overwhelm or not going into the shutdown about it. Dialoguing with the inner child and ask them what happens when you try to cry or process when something overwhelming comes up, to figure out what they might need from you, the inner adult. Or there might be a belief going on about the shutdown, about not crying, that might be, just like boys don't cry or something. It could be something as simple as that, or it's just really being removed from our emotional experience as a little person. Another is looking at both extremes as standard trauma issues, and that really, I want you to take this in. It's not about being defective in any way. It's just standard what happens to kids when they don't grow up in safety. Moving on to number 9.
Go ahead, Patrick.
DBT is dialectical behavior therapy. It's short. Here, I'm of course reading from the Googles. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy that tries to identify and change negative thinking patterns and pushes for positive behavioral changes. And going through a couple of these, like the core between these two exposures is, I think he's trying to identify the fact that when we want to react to something and we don't have the tools to sit with a certain emotion, that we immediately move to the extreme. Like, if we feel something like that grief and we're either crying all the time or we're either just not dealing with it. Like we can't access the emotion correctly. So it seems this is a quick synopsis and back of the hand read, but it looks like these therapies look to exposure of these and try and just sort with them in a safe, controlled situation where you can begin to regulate them a little bit easier. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does make a lot of sense. This is all coming back to me in a very good way since I've quit Effexor. We were watching Ted Lasso, speaking of, I think it was whatever. And I looked at Judy. We were both crying in like a normal way. It was an emotional reaction. Tears were coming. We weren't freaking out. But a couple months ago, I wouldn't have had that response, which it almost hurts. Like I want to cry. You know what I mean? Like, man, But I'm just not. Like you said, you're not a sociopath, but man, it feels that way when you're medicated sometimes. Sorry, I keep bringing it back to the medications because I've been, released from the Effexor womb, and it feels good. When I had my breakdown during the withdrawal, I told Judy, and I think I told you and the audience, Patrick, I uncontrollably would start crying, and I knew what was happening, but if Judy's like, what's our, should check in on me. It felt so good and so bad at the same time because I was having a lot of emotions, but man, the deep upheaval of that crying that come out, I could taste it in my mouth, if that makes sense. Like,